Am I the idiot for canceling a trip and refusing to pay my friend back for flights? I am currently on a semester abroad in Italy until Easter, from the UK. My friend Polly wanted to come and visit at the end of next month. We had been talking about this trip and planning dates for ages, and she still hadn't booked anything, which is obviously fine. However, in the meantime I had been having some mental health issues and family drama and would like to go home to my parents around the time she is supposed to visit. It is the only time that my family will be free when flights are affordable for me to go home. 3 days ago I sent Polly a long message explaining the situation, and that I was sorry I would not be able to host her at the time we had planned for her to visit. She had still not booked anything at the time but immediately seemed a bit defensive and sent me a message saying, "This is the only time I will be free to visit you, can I come on? I can book flights today, is that okay?" I immediately, within 30 minutes, replied saying, "No, I'm sorry, as I explained I would now like to go home at the time we had been planning the visit. And in any case the first 2 days of your trip aren't what we discussed and I have always been unable to host you at that time due to. Normally I would say to book 2 days later, but as I said I really need to prioritize my mental health and go home at that time if possible." She didn't respond again until the next day and told me that she had already booked flights before checking whether I'd replied and that she was expecting me to host her on the dates she had outlined. I was quite shocked by this and told her I couldn't host her then and that she should have checked my response to her questions before booking the flights. She is now very angry and insisting that I should pay her back for the cost of her flights, around £100, which is a lot for either of us. But I told her that this shouldn't be my responsibility as she should have double-checked with me before spending the money. I later offered to refund half as a peace offering, but she said this wasn't anywhere near good enough. Polly told our mutual friends the situation and they are all saying I'm taught and should pay her back in full as she and her family apparently have no money. I'm devastated to have lost this friendship on top of everything else going on in my life and really confused about whether I'm in the wrong. So am I the idiot for canceling this trip and refusing to refund my friend for her flight tickets? Update. To the people who said Polly was lying about booking a flight because it seemed suspiciously cheap, she could have cancelled within 24 hours. She booked on a cheap UK airline and this is fairly standard pricing. Plus their cancellation, refund policies are what you'd expect from an airline where they charge you extra just to sit next to the person you booked with. She's many things but not a total liar. She definitely booked after I told her not to. After everything blew up with Polly, we didn't speak for a couple of weeks. I talked it over with my parents and they said that I was under absolutely no obligation to pay her a penny, which I agree with, as did all of the sub. However, they suggested that I could offer to pay a small amount, like 20% of the fare, in the interests of salvaging the friendship. I liked this idea as I was still feeling so heartbroken and didn't want to throw away 10 plus years of friendship if avoidable. So I sent her a message explaining that I didn't feel I owed her any money for her mistake, but that I really cared about her and our friendship and that I would be willing to make a small contribution if it meant that we could meet on happier terms in the future and resume our friendship. Well, she left me to read. For over a month, she did eventually reply to tell me that I should still pay the full fare, claiming she was seconds away from booking when I originally spoke to her, and then messaged me a reminder of this a few days later. That second day was my birthday and she sent me no well wishes along with it, just a reminder that she wanted money. I'd finally been pushed over the edge. I was absolutely raging and told her it was unacceptable to message me poop like this on my birthday. That was the last time we spoke and I've now blocked her on everything. It also turns out she didn't tell as many of our mutual friends as I thought. One of them is no longer speaking to me. I've tried to reach out but she's ignoring me, so I'm leaving it because who needs people like that? Another pair had heard the story and said they wanted to remain neutral, which makes me think they didn't hear the whole truth. But I can't be bothered to push it as they're still cool with me and don't really care about the poly drama. I'm feeling great now, things are going well with my family and I am really enjoying my last few months of semester abroad. I've made some good friends and am having the best time. I wish all the drama had never happened, but I'm grateful to have seen the true colors of someone I would have continued to trust otherwise. Thanks for all the support here, not the idiot. She isn't your friend if you requested space and she refused to give it to you. It's not like you said, "Oh, I have other plans now so don't come." You told her you were struggling and wouldn't be able to host her, and she insisted on coming anyway. When you gently reiterated your point, she immediately booked a flight, and then had the gall to tell you to reimburse her. No, the only words out of her mouth when you told her how you were struggling and couldn't host her should have been, "Think nothing of it. What can I do for you right now?" Not the idiot. It's really sad, but what I learned getting older is that some friendships just have an expiration date. Especially at your age. Studying, spending time abroad, adulting, there is so much development going on, and it's normal to just go into different directions and part ways. It might not look like this now, but it might be for the best, seeing how you already have quite the differences in how you treat friends and what they owe to you. Should they have paid Polly back? Let me know in the comments. Now, AITA for ignoring my teacher's request for money even if I can afford it. I feel horrible but I'm known for being a pushover, so I'm coming to this sub in hopes of either validation or a reality check. I, female 25, play tennis regularly, and I train 3x a week with 2 different teachers. One of them just started training me as my usual teacher was not available in my time slot anymore. My dad, we train at the same facility, wasn't thrilled about this, as he told me people he knows don't like working with him. However, he didn't know specific reasons. However, I didn't have issues with him since we started our sessions in April up until a month ago. I pay for my classes in advance, so I have paid my May classes since April. My first issue was when the teacher asked me for payment mid-May again, and I felt like he tried to guilt trip me by telling me he was in a rough spot financially. I told him I already paid, and he left me alone but went to my dad and tried to get payment from him. My dad, bless him, paid him the month of June in advance for me so he'll stop bothering me. Yesterday he straight up just asked me for money, about $50 and that he'll repay me next class. I don't feel comfortable lending money to anyone, let alone someone I have known for 3 months. However, he went again with the guilt trip about his family and his children. I ended up just ignoring him until he didn't message me anymore. I feel terrible and can afford the money, but it's the principle for me, as I don't know how he feels comfortable to constantly be begging me for money. I'm not even comfortable with having classes with him anymore, but I know he'll take a hit financially if I don't pay for my classes and more so. My sister also trains with him and will drop him if I do. He doesn't ask her for money, as she is still a student. Am I the idiot? I feel terrible and conflicted. Update. I read all of the comments, and while I still feel guilty, I want to thank everyone who took the time to reassure me of my decision. In short, I reported the teacher myself yesterday and I canceled my classes with him. I tried to not get my dad involved because I'm an adult after all. However, the begging teacher cornered me after my session to guilt trip me again, and tried to coerce me into keeping him as my teacher, telling me it was a one-time mistake and I will never understand because I'm privileged. I escaped and called my dad, who then went there and raised hell, and basically got the teacher suspended because it was his 5th complaint in a year. He tried to tell my dad I still owed him classes, but as y'all know we had our back covered. We won't be getting back the classes we paid in advance though. I feel guilty for his family and especially his kids, as he lost 2 students. My dad pulled my sister from her classes with him too, but I feel reassured by my choices. I will probably look into some dance classes to fill the gap of those training sessions. Thanks again everybody. ETA. Just so you all know, the teacher has been fired. According to my dad, this guy is an alcoholic, and in addition to the money complaints, he also had complaints from his morning students that he was always hungover. It was too much for the administration to look past. I hope he gets the help he needs, but in the meantime he has no place as a teacher. More so, and some of the complaints were from the parents of students who are still children. Not the idiot. You did the right thing. It's really the consequences of his own actions that got him in trouble, and it sounds like you're not the only person he might have done this kind of stuff to. Not the idiot. Teacher here, thank you so much for reporting him. His behavior is so wildly inappropriate and abusive. He is abusing his position of power over minors and should not be teaching under any circumstance. Would you have reported him? Let me know in the comments. Now, am I the idiot for refusing to pick up my coworker? I, male 30, drive to work, which is located in a somewhat rural area with no public transport. Everyone else at work drives too. Recently, a coworker in my department, male 30 plus, told me his car broke down and he asked me to pick him up for work. The thing is, he lives in a different town from me, which means I will have to detour and add another 30 minutes to my commute. He doesn't want to get Uber as it will be costly. I told him to get a bus from his town to mine and I will pick him up from the station on the way to work. It will only add an extra 5 minutes to my commute. He refused as he will have to get ready very early. The bus trip will take about 20 minutes. So I said no, I can't pick him up, and he got mad and called me an idiot. I do feel really bad because Uber will be expensive, but I don't feel like waking up early and adding to my commute just to drive him. We do work closely as a team though, so I'm afraid this will make me look petty. Am I an idiot? Update. A couple of weeks ago I posted asking if I'm the off for not picking up my coworker to work. I was torn because I've worked with him for 3 years without any issues, and it was the first disagreement we had. So thanks to everyone who said I'm not on and put my mind at ease. On to the update. After our uncomfortable conversation, I went to a training program in another state, so I didn't see him until the next Monday. I drove to work as usual and he also came in. By Uber, I found out later. We didn't speak until lunch, when to my surprise, he apologized to me. He said he was stressed about fixing his car. He had to replace the radiator and wait for the part, and having to spend more money on rides. He admitted that he has never taken the bus. He moved to this city 3 years ago for the job and never had to use public transport since he's always had a car. So he was feeling anxious and took it out on me, I guess. He said I didn't deserve it and I accepted his apology. So he still Ubers to work since he doesn't want to get up early. But I offered to send him to the bus station near my place after work and he can take an Uber home from there. It's easier to get a ride at the station instead of from our work. He graciously accepted and offered to chip in for gas, but I said it's fine since we'll be going the same way. So he bought me lunch instead. I ended up sending him for 3 days, then he got his car back. Some people might say I shouldn't offer to help him, but it wasn't a bother for me, and who knows if one day I might be in his position. Our working relationship is stronger now and I'm glad we could both move forward in a better place. That's my update. Have a great day. Not the idiot. This was a great update. Also a great reminder that sometimes we act like idiots not because we're bad people, but because we're just going through it and aren't handling it well. Glad he owned up to his poop, and glad you helped make something positive out of it. not the idiot. Takes a lot of empathy to be able to project your best intentions onto somebody else's poor behavior, but it takes far more guile to do it safely with finesse. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for taking away my wife's access to our money? I have been married to my wife, Ashley, for 7 years. I am the only one that works. Ashley spends her time volunteering at a charity she started. I am fine with this as I make enough for both of us. In financial decisions we have equal say. I will admit that I am the numbers nerd of the relationship, so I do the budget and handle our investments. My wife has equal input into the budget, we both have to agree on it. Like many people, we are saving for retirement and a couple of other financial goals. Ashley's sister and her family are going through a lot of financial issues at the moment. My brother-in-law lost his job and my sister-in-law is reaching out to my wife for help. They are asking for us to cover their monthly expenses. I said no. While we have some discretionary money, we don't have that much. Both my wife and I get fun money to spend however we wish each month. I told my wife that I would match whatever amount of her fun money she wants to give her sister from my fun money. My wife doesn't want to do that. She says that won't be enough money. She wants us to reduce the amount we are saving each month to help her sister. I refused. I do not want to jeopardize my family's future for her sister's present. Ashley was very unhappy with my answer, but I refused to change my mind. I found out last week that my wife gave her sister money out of our general savings account. I was furious. To me, this is a complete betrayal of trust. I confronted her and her reply was that I forced her to go behind my back by being unreasonable. I was angry. I ended up going to the bank and opening up new accounts in my name only. I moved the balances to my new accounts. I left enough money for the expenses that she typically pays according to our budget. Things like groceries, her gas, etc., as well as her fun money. I did not leave her without access to any money. I did leave her with access only to money that she is supposed to spend according to the budget we both agreed to. I went home and told her what I had done. She is accusing me of financially abusing her. I pointed out that she is the one that abused my trust, not the other way around. That is, it is on her to prove to me that she is worthy of my trust because after what she did, I don't trust her anymore. She said if that was the case, she should just leave. That she wasn't going to be treated as a child. I told her to leave then because I wasn't going to give her the opportunity to steal from me again when it is clear she isn't even sorry for what she did. She left to stay with her sister. I believe I am completely justified for what I have done. She is the one that broke our agreement. Did I take it too far though? This was the first time she ever did anything like this. Did I let anger get the best of me? Am I the idiot for taking away her access to the money? Update. Well, it looks like the posters that commented that my marriage is doomed were correct. First, after reading the posts I agreed that it was not fair that I had access to our savings and she did not, even though she gave some away without my consent. Following the advice of several posters, I contacted my bank and I found that the account could be changed so that while both of us could deposit money, it would take both our signatures to take money out of the account. This would give her the same control over the accounts that I had by putting them under my name. I contacted Ashley to let her know that I would put the money back in the joint account if we switched the account to require both of our signatures. She said no. That just showed that I didn't trust her. I told her I didn't. She had taken money without my consent. Of course I didn't trust her. She refuses to change the account. I refuse to give her unrestricted access. So right now I am still the only one with access to the money. We also tried marriage counseling, another suggestion that posters brought up multiple times. The counselor asked both of us to say what we thought was wrong with our relationship. Ashley said that I had abused her by taking away her access to money. I said that Ashley had broken my trust by giving away money without my consent. It took a few sessions, but it became pretty clear that we just weren't going to see things the same way. I wasn't going to commit to supporting her sister's family, and she refused to see giving them money without my consent as a breach of trust. The kicker came when it got close to the end of the month and Ashley demanded, not asked, demanded, that I put $3,000 in the account for her to use to pay her sister's bills. Her reasoning was since she stayed there we owed it to them. I told her she was ridiculous and that if I wouldn't do that while we were together, why in the world would I do it now? She walked out of the session and told me that she wouldn't continue counseling until I agreed. I contacted a lawyer and filed for a legal separation and will be filing for divorce. I found that I am legally obligated to pay usual and ordinary bills of the household, but I am not required to pay any bills for where she moved to since she left voluntarily. So I am doing what I am required to, including things like paying for her car insurance and her cell phone. But I am not giving her access to any other funds. She has asked, more like demanded. I give her money as she will be getting it when we divorce, but I don't have a way of making sure whatever she is given comes out of the final settlement, so I am refusing. Not the idiot. I can't stress this enough. Obey your attorney. Do not take the high road man up or any of the other BS things people are going to tell you that you need to do. You only need to obey your attorney. That's it. I'm sorry this happened to you. Not the idiot. Do whatever your lawyer is telling you to do. It's too bad you don't have a prenup since she wasn't working. You might have to pay alimony. I hope things work out for you in the future and I'm sorry you were taken advantage of like this. At least you now know how selfish and self-absorbed she is and that reality will bite her hard in the ass when she realizes she needs to get a job and support herself now. Am I the idiot for kicking my roommate's fiance out and saying he can forget about sharing the new house? My male 22, soon-to-be aunt is quite generous with family. When one of her investment properties was vacated unexpectedly, she asked me if I wanted to move in for, basically, free. It was a fully furnished duplex condo, as our lease ends in January, and one of my roommates, Bill, male 25, proposed to his girlfriend. I asked my other roommate, Baran, male 22, if he wanted to move in. He agreed to pay all the utilities and bills. My plan was to ask my girlfriend Veda, female 23, to move in with me soon. Since she and Varan are distant cousins and the condo being pretty big, it wouldn't be a deal breaker for her to share. But it all changed when Bill asked if he could move in with us till his wedding. Bill and his fiancée, Beth, 23, female, want to save up to put a deposit on a bigger home. I agreed since it was only till the wedding, which was in 9 months. The final deal was, I won't charge them any rent and they will cover all the bills and utilities. We decided to keep our old place till the end of Jan and move in slowly. The incident in question happened when a few of our friends got together in the new condo to party, break in the new home. Beth was in full-on bride mode planning everything. As her maid of honor and few bridesmaids are in our friend group, our every get-together is turning into wedding talks, and this was no different. Unlike Varan, who was born in the US, Veda is here in the States on an L1 work visa. She adjusted well, but sometimes she's like a fish out of water. Being a curious person, she politely either asks me or someone else to explain if she didn't understand something. Beth started bragging about how it's going to be a big wedding with 200 guests. V got genuinely confused and asked if it's really considered a big wedding. I said yes and left it at that. But one of the bridesmaids asked V if it's not considered big in India. She sheepishly said yes. When pushed further, she said for her big weddings mean upwards of 2K guests. The bridesmaid got intrigued and started asking V about Indian weddings. V also got into it because she wanted to know more about American weddings. The topic turned to child-free weddings and V said she never attended one. Apparently, Indian weddings are mostly never child-free. I guess Beth got annoyed. She is having a child free and started making snide comments such as how they Indians might not be able to afford babysitters, etc. V grew uncomfortable. I finally had enough when Beth compared her own job with V's. I laughed in her face and said V makes more money than all of the others in the house combined and asked her to leave. Bill got involved and started making excuses about how she's stressed about the wedding, and if she leaves, V had to leave too as we share the house now. Here's where I might be an idiot. I said no, we didn't sign any agreement yet and he can forget about it until Beth apologizes. Edit. Sorry for the confusion. V didn't move in yet. I wanted to ask V to move in with me after a few months, but as Bill asked me if he can move in, I decided not to ask her until his wedding. She's there because I invited her to the party. Edit 2. My initial agreement was with Varan. He'll pay all bills, utilities and maintenance charges, and I won't charge him rent. The total came up to 60% of what we are paying as rent on the old place individually. When Bill asked to move in, I didn't think much of it, but wanted to get an agreement ready for the next 9 minutes 12 months. My aunt's lawyer was drawing one up. That's the reason we didn't sign one already. If I am being honest, I am a bit nervous about asking V to move in with me. So, I guess this became an unconscious excuse. Honestly, I never had a problem with him or Beth till now, which is why her comments came as a bit of a shock. Not the idiot. Beth was extremely rude and racist to make such statements, especially since this is actually your condo that you're leasing from your aunt with your girlfriend. You never invited either her or Bill to move in. Bill invited himself and her. Their sense of entitlement is ridiculous. Who the hell do they think they are? Update. A small explanation to the person and others who sent me a DM roasting me for not charging any rent to Bill when they could afford a 200-person wedding. I didn't grow up poor, but money was always tight. As for Beth getting a 200-plus wedding, it's her mother's money and dream. Apparently, her mom saved up money just for a grand wedding. Coming to Bill, there were times he covered my rent when I didn't want to dip into my savings or ask my parents for a loan. I paid back at my own convenience. He never pressured me. Most people are rarely black and white, and I never had anything against him till this incident. So, yeah, when he asked to share the condo, I gladly agreed as it not only helped him but also gave me an excuse to not ask V to move in with me. I talked to Bill, and from what I gathered, it all started when he visited Beth's house. They had a small group, got drunk and played what Reddit liked to put it as, frick around and find out. One of the stupid questions was, who's the most beautiful, hottest person you've met? Partners and celebs excluded. Since Beth already answered, Bill answered V. Well, you read about the fallout. He apologized to me and V for being a prick, his words not mine. Beth too called and apologized to V. Something else triggered her, not just Bill's answer, and she will be restarting therapy soon. They are extending the lease on our old house and they will move in together. So, both of us decided to give them a second chance. As for V, I guess she's the total package. Beauty and the brain. Consider it a flex, I don't care. I accidentally saw her pay slip once, and she makes almost 10 times more than me. Though V is not the kind to lord it over others, it's still a little embarrassing. The matter of finances rarely came up till now, but moving in together means we need to have that discussion. So it held me back a little, but no more. I finally asked her to move in with me and she agreed. At least something positive came out of this mess. Let me end this by saying happy holidays everyone. A small edit. To those who think we didn't get any say in the decision, it was her choice to give them a second choice after speaking to Beth. I don't know what they talked about, and V's lips are sealed. These are V's words. If I have to cut every racist from my life, even when they are genuinely apologetic, I need to cut off my parents first and foremost for the things they said about you. Not the idiot. I would highly recommend you go talk to a therapist or a counselor about why it matters that V makes more than you before you allow that resentment to destroy your relationship. Not the idiot. But I disagree. I don't see resentment at all. I see a young guy who is very much aware that his feelings about this are unwarranted and irrational, and I'm sure they will figure it out together. A large gap in wealth can be awkward for anyone. What matters is how they deal with it. Both Opus and V seem to have their heads on straight, and I wish them the very best. This next story has a 3-year update and you won't want to miss it. Am I the idiot for wanting my husband to start paying more for our housing? Hi all. For reference, I am female 29, and my husband is male 30. We've been together since I was 20, and got married when I was 26. When we moved in together when I was 25, we were splitting our rent evenly. I was making $65,000 and he was making $80,000. And we live in a large US city. It didn't really make a huge difference in my budget versus his to split rent 50/50 for $26,000 a month rent. However, things have changed. I got pregnant a few months after we got married, which we were so happy about and wanted. I didn't want to not work, but I wanted to be home with our baby, so I found a full-time remote job in my field of work. The downside is I took a cut to my salary from $65,000 to $50,000. We continued to split rent in our apartment. My husband, between being 26 and 30, has received a number of raises and has switched his job. He is now a senior business analyst, making roughly $195K a year. Since we were having a child, we were going to need a bigger apartment. We found a 3-bedroom for $4,000K per month. He still wanted to split rent evenly, despite my protests, and despite me wanting to try to find a smaller apartment for less. In the end, I sort of let myself get walked over because he really is such a smooth talker and I do love him. Anyway, flash forward 2.5 years, our rent has increased to $4,400K. My take-home pay monthly after taxes is roughly $3,600K. I am paying $2K monthly in rent. I am also taking care of our baby and our home, doing chores and cooking daily. My husband works from 8-6, but typically doesn't get home until 7. I am burnt out. I barely have enough money per month to do things I enjoy. I feel like I am financially struggling while my husband is living a life of luxury. Yes, he does take me out on dates and on vacation, but he doesn't seem to understand that this is not enough for me. I spoke to him 2 days ago very seriously, and when I asked about trying to split rent based on our income and pay an equal percentage of our income so that it is more fair than fully equal, his reaction stunned me. He asked me why having $6K extra a month wasn't enough for me. I told him I'm not saving anything. He told me I should spend less on extracurricular activities, which makes me laugh because what extracurricular activities? All I do is work, cook, clean, shop for the house and raise our child. I told him I am basically working 2 full-time jobs at once and I need help. Then he asked me if I was suggesting he pay me for being a mother and that stunned me. I really had no response to that. Anyway, he told me that this is the lifestyle we agreed when we moved in together way back when. However, he doesn't seem to understand, or rather does not want to understand. Now he is mad with me because he thinks I am being selfish and has been acting cold to me these past few days. I am getting the itch to apologize and take it back like I always do, but I really feel I am right here. Am I the idiot? Edit. Thank you all for all of the responses. I can honestly say I did not expect to get this feedback. I am honestly overwhelmed and cannot reply to all of you, especially while I am working, but I wanted to update some things here. I love my husband with all my heart, and it is heartbreaking for me to read these comments and realize that I am being taken advantage of. I need to figure out the best way to approach this issue and solve it before it gets too far. I want to work this out and the fear of being alone is haunting me. Yes, I did sign a prenup that was overseen by his family attorney. My husband comes from extreme wealth and I was young and stupid and went with it. Head over heels like my mother always said I was. As for his family, we get along great and they love me. It's very confusing because they are such incredibly generous people and they are family. But they don't know about our financial situation because my husband and I believe that our marriage is private. And I would feel like I was betraying him by telling them. I'm sorry I cannot reply to all of you, but please know I am reading all of the comments and making a plan of approach with them. Edit 2. For those talking about the dates and vacations bit that he pays for, I have asked him numerous times to help lighten my financial load instead of going on these trips and dates and he has refused. He said he can do what he wants with his money and if he wants to take us on vacation that is what he will pay for. If I could afford vacation I would pay. In fact, when we were in a more even financial situation, unmarried, not kids, I paid for almost all of our vacations and dates because I love to treat people. And I can't do that anymore. Edit 3. I also do not have bad spending habits. I worked my way out of my student loan debt in 2 years after graduating. I saved $60K by the time we got married, and I have that all in my retirement which I am thankful for because I can no longer contribute to it. This has nothing to do with how I spend. I am actually pretty frugal when it comes to shopping, especially since I prefer to keep things cheap for my budget. Not the idiot. Married people with children who keep separate bank accounts and argue about who pays for what are weird. You're not roommates. Update. I sincerely apologize for taking so long to return to Reddit and write an update to this. A lot has happened since. For those who don't know, this post was originally written at the end February of 2020 and it's now 2023. Things were not good with me and my husband at the time of this post. I want to preface this by saying we are still together to this day, and we've welcomed a new child to the world, this time in a much healthier environment. COVID changed a lot for me, along with the intense virality of the last post. Neither my husband nor I got laid off or furloughed, and we weren't so thankful. But my husband moved to work from home. That perspective shift changed a lot for him when he said what I had to deal with day to day. Things I could never properly communicate about how difficult it is to work while raising a child and what I brought to the table that he could never see. Despite his newfound appreciation for me, I still found myself resenting him. It was in June that I finally proposed that we go to couples counseling, after doing my own virtual therapy sessions since March, from which I learned about why I let people step over me based on my childhood and past and how to overcome that. To my surprise, my husband agreed, and so we've been in weekly counseling since, even to this day. It helped him get to the root of his fears and address why he has trouble trusting me financially, which had less to do with me and more to do with what he was brought up believing and had been instilled with. After coming to the point of telling him I wouldn't want to continue building a family or a life with him where he watched me struggle from luxury, with the help of our amazing counselor who guided us, my husband was willing to adjust our lifestyle to be more equal. I'm not saying everything was or is magically perfect. I know people wanted an update where I left my evil husband and took my baby to start a new life, but I did marry this man for a reason. I saw the good, and past this struggle we've had to overcome. He's become the man I knew I'd married. We now have a joint bank account as well as our own on the side. We each put 2 divided by thirds of our income into the shared account and get to keep 1 divided by third for ourselves. I am in a new job now and making much more money than in the original post. Not that this affects the relationship, but so people know my 1 divided by third is enough for me to enjoy. It's still a road to recovery, but we have more trust between us and are no longer living a 50/50 lifestyle. Not the idiot. While I'm glad he has changed his ways, I do hope this also means he's finally contributing to household chores, cooking and childcare, because him expecting you to do all of that was a huge part of the equation and many people thinking this marriage could not be saved. I also hope you consider bringing up both back pay of sorts that could go into your retirement account, because you were at such an extreme disadvantage for so long, or agree to a post-nup. Because if things do not work out in the end, which I sadly fear may still be the case, you are going to be completely screwed in this situation the way things stand. And there's no making up for all of that lost time when it comes to your retirement account. Not the idiot. I always love getting updates, and I'm happy that this is leaning towards a positive outcome. That said, I don't know if I personally could work on things with a guy that didn't understand that raising a baby is a full-time job in itself and keeping all the fun money isn't okay. Especially knowing that she took a pay cut in order to be able to do the unpaid work of raising what is his child too. Am I the idiot for refusing to make dinner for my husband and brother-in-law unless the dishes are washed? I, female 29, and husband, male 28, recently allowed his brother, male 27, to move in with us. We all work full-time in the same hours MF with an occasional Saturday. I'm self-employed, so I'm able to make my hours flexible if needed, which I do on Tuesdays to do my husband's and as laundry early in the morning before I go to work, and Wednesdays to do our towels and his brother's laundry. We do not own a washer and dryer at home, so I take our laundry to do elsewhere on those days, which I honestly do not mind at all. Note that his brother is paying $100 per week, and I told him that would include me doing his laundry weekly. I do all the stopping at grocery stores on my own before picking them up from work, which also cuts into my work days. We currently only have 1 vehicle and his brother's car is down, so I'm the main transportation for everyone. At home, I clean up after our dog any bathroom messes he's made during the day while we're away and fix his food. I also ensure all the common spaces are neat and tidy. When I cook dinner, I am the only one who cooks. I want the sink to be empty. When I do cook, I ensure that the kitchen is properly cleaned after, and I make sure all the pots, pans, utensils, and plates, bowls are rinsed with no residue left behind for easy cleaning for the next person. I've recently started getting complaints that 1. They're tired of doing the dishes all the time, and 2. I complain too much. Biggest complaints from me are wanting the dishes done and the clothes to be placed properly into the hamper. I feel like I put a lot of effort into everything I contribute to the home. The only tasks I ask from them is for clothes to be picked up off the floor and then put away immediately once they're cleaned, and then for dishes to be done before I make dinners. I will quickly note that we'll usually choose one day on the weekend that we all pick a room to tackle to deep clean. But outside of that particular day, the load of the house is left to me. I told them both yesterday that I will no longer complain about dishes being done or not. I will continue to lay something out for dinner, but if the dishes are not completed, I won't be cooking. They also know which days I do laundry, and if things aren't properly placed in the hamper when I'm ready to leave for laundry, those items won't be washed until the following week. I've been told this is a harsh approach. However, as I stated before, I feel as though I contribute a lot to our household, and I don't feel like I'm asking much for these tasks to be completed by them. They're tired of hearing me complain about things not being done, and I'm tired of having to complain about these things not being done. However, maybe this is a harsh approach and makes me an idiot. Should I just start doing the dishes myself and ensuring everything is properly placed in the hamper for wash days to keep the home running smoothly? You're an idiot. To yourself. You work and you do the majority of the housework. I'm surprised you didn't add dirty dishes equals no food, which seems like a very basic rule. Also, there is no reason for you to drive them around. There are Ubers, public transportation, and I assume both mama's boys have a full set of legs too. Walking is good for your health. A harsh approach would be to kick them both out. What you are doing is just expecting them to be minimally functional adults. Update. As awful as it sounds, I truly believed I was going to be the in the situation when I posted it, yet it wasn't the response I received at all. For that, I want to thank everyone who took their time to reply to my posts. You've helped in opening my eyes to the boundaries I needed to create in my life going forward. The day I posted it, I decided to put my foot down with not cooking dinner unless the dishes were done and not washing laundry that wasn't properly placed in the hamper on laundry day, and I stuck with it. To my surprise, things began running smoothly. Though things were seemingly running smoothly again, my husband and I were beginning to miss our own privacy and space. My husband and brother-in-law were beginning to not get along, and we realized he was doing nothing to save money to move when his living with us was supposed to be very temporary. So we decided we were going to give him a date to move out by. The day we were going to give him the date, I woke up to a status my brother-in-law had posted on Facebook stating that the last 3 months had been filled with depression and starvation, and it had caused him to lose a great amount of weight, which I was extremely taken aback by and honestly hurt. I have spent a lot of time making new and elaborate recipes. My husband and I still cannot figure out what prompted him to post it in the first place. So, I not only confronted him about it by commenting on his post, but in person as well. I asked him, "So you're starving?" Where he looked me straight in my face and said, "Yes." I honestly couldn't have been more dumbfounded. There were a lot of words exchanged, mostly by me, and my husband told him it was best to keep his mouth shut. I suppose now would be a good time to note that my brother-in-law is known for his pathological lying, though I'm unsure how anyone can lie to someone who's literally been cooking their meals on almost a nightly basis. When I dropped them off at work that morning, my husband told him he had a week to move out, but my brother-in-law ultimately decided to move out that night when they returned home from work. I was honestly hopeful to give a 100% perfect and peaceful update, though I suppose in hindsight, it is. We now have our home, privacy, and peace of mind back. Our home is running more smoothly than ever, and my husband and I can continue on our path of a happily ever after. Not an idiot. So an adult who is perfectly capable of going to the grocery store or fixing himself something to eat has the audacity to claim to be starving while someone else cooks for him. Wow, so glad you got rid of him. Not an idiot. I hope your husband participates more in the upkeep of your marital home than he was when you first posted. It sounded like you were the mother of a young child, not the wife of an adult man. Should she have kicked out this bill sooner? Let me know in the comments. Now, am I the idiot for not using my inheritance money to help my brother and his family out? Background me. Female 19, and my brother, male 32, became orphans 10 years ago due to an accident our parents were in. My parents had always been a bit paranoid when it came to their mortality, so they had a set plan in case they passed. They left a significant amount of money for each of us, and our childhood home was meant to be mine. They specified that we would have access to our share of the will when we turn 18. Since my brother was already old enough, he took his money and cut all contact with me. I had lived with my grandparents ever since, but last year I finally got my share. I decided to move into the house and use the money to pay for my studies. I am in my first year of medicine and it is very expensive. I have estimated that when I finish medicine in 5 years, I will have a lot of money left to continue with what I want to specialize in, and have some left. My grandparents know my plan and offered to help with my living expenses, so my inheritance becomes exclusive for my studies until I finish. I accepted, and we have been like this for a year. Now to the issue. My brother and his wife have 3 children from ages 9, 7, and 4. My brother spent his inheritance money on a house, his wedding, cars, and expensive stuff that one doesn't really need to live. My sister-in-law is a stay-at-home mom, so he was the breadwinner. My brother recently lost his job, so now their family is struggling and they need a place to stay. He contacted me and asked for us to meet up. When I arrived, he and his wife were already sitting down in the restaurant. Long story short, they said that since they were going through hard times, they expected me to hand them over my house and give them a share of my inheritance so they can get back on their feet. I got pissed off since we have barely talked or visited each other since the accident, and they were just demanding that I pay for them. I told them that I wouldn't because I already have a plan for the money and I was living in the house. They said I can move back with my grandparents and blew off at me for being selfish. After arguing, I decided to leave, but now my cousins are saying I'm an inconsiderate aunt and I should help the family out. I really need to know if I'm in the wrong. Am I an idiot? I would like to add that the main reason I'm questioning my decision is because there are children involved, his kids, and I don't want to hurt them. Update. A lot has happened since my post, so I'll be updating here. I first told my grandparents everything that happened and they are supporting me. I told the cousins that were sending me messages to help my brother themselves and they got angrier, so I blocked them. I then invited my brother and his wife to eat and offered to let them rent 3 rooms in my house. They asked if it was free and I said no, but it would not be expensive. They kept insisting on me handing over my property, so I decided to leave. I had a conversation with my brother and turns out you were right. He doesn't want a relationship with me. To be honest, I am completely heartbroken and angry because I thought things would change. After that conversation, I decided this time I would be the one cutting contact, and my grandparents did too. Not an idiot. You know what? This may be a blessing in disguise since he has left no question about his nature and made it very easy to see that he has nothing good to add to your life. Not an idiot. Good luck with everything. It hurts to be treated this way by someone that should be close, but it's better to know than be taken advantage of. Maybe share that information, that he doesn't want a relationship with you, with the cousins and see if that changes their mind. Maybe they'd do huge favors for someone that treats them like garbage. I'm just thinking that's not the case. Should he have given them some money? Let me know in the comments. Now, am I the idiot for not wanting my parents to be involved in my ex's new family? I was previously married for about 8 years. While we were married, my parents seemed to never like my spouse, and more than once I had to ask them to stop saying unkind things to her. They kept pushing us to have kids, but we never did. Eventually, we had some marital issues, and to be clear, I am not blaming her for these issues. It was both of us, and we're on a trial separation while in counseling, and at the time the agreement was that we were not seeing other people. However, suddenly my spouse was pregnant, and it was not possible that it was mine, as the last time we had had sex was 2 months prior to her conception date. That was the end of the marriage, and I filed for divorce 2 days after I found out. My parents, knowing fully that this was not my child and that the conception was my spouse cheating on me, however, then chose to support my ex through her pregnancy. They chose to play grandparent to my ex's kid. When I told them it was an issue for me that they were so involved in her life, their solution was to lie, poorly, and now just not talk about it. I found out secondhand that not only did they go to her wedding, to the guy she cheated with, but that my father gave her away at that wedding. They now also play grandparent to her 2 additional kids with the new hubby. They go on vacations with her and her family. This has been going on for 10 years and I feel like I lost my parents in my divorce. My parents have said that they feel like I am being ridiculous and that it's their Christian duty to look out for my child, which they say is mine because we were married when she got pregnant. Even if I feel like abandoning the kid is okay. They blame me for the family never being able to be together since I won't attend family events that she's going to, which more and more is all of them. Everyone in my family has pretty much treated me as persona non grata for abandoning the family. Am I the idiot here? Am I the one destroying the family? Should I just play uncle to my ex's kids that I want nothing to do with? Not an idiot. This is disgusting. Remind them that she broke the marriage covenant, but also a commandment. Time to write the whole lot of them off. Which has both sucked and been healthier for me. I don't even know what they are doing for Christmas this year, which is actually easier than knowing they are doing something and choosing to exclude me. 2. I did print out some of the posts from last year and showed them to my therapist as suggested. He berated me for listening to people on the internet and cutting off a vital part of my support system. After 2 months of weekly appointments listening to him talk about ways to fix the relationship and apologize to my family and make amends with them, I just stopped making appointments with him. That was in March. 3. After stopping contact with my family and therapist, I found I had a really hard time. Super anxious and second-guessing every interaction, even being around my friends, so I've kinda stopped seeing them either. I had good work from home, so I just started working all the time. It was good for my career and I got a major promotion in Q3. It was a large enough promo that I don't stress about money anymore, which was constantly stressed before. So spending my energy somewhere other than on my family has been life-changing. Not an idiot. Okay, I am gonna be honest with you. Super proud for choosing to put yourself first. Your family are really a bunch of narcissistic assholes. Second, WTH is wrong with your therapist. That is some first-grade bullshit that she has been telling you. A good therapist should and would never tell you to apologize. God, some people need their license revoked. She should have recommended going no contact a long time ago. I can only applaud you for not going to them anymore. But please find a new and good therapist or a support group to help you. Try talking to your friends, but only if they support you going no contact with family and therapist. That should be a good indicator if they are good friends. Good friends will support you no matter what. Please take care of yourself. You are worth it. And to hell with your parents and family for putting you through this. Even your ex. She should be ashamed of herself. Again, please take care of yourself. Hope the new year will bring you joy, strength, and happiness.